Welcome to Pro Football Focus. It is the final Pro Football Focus of the season. This show brought to you by freeplays.com, and it is time for the Super Bowl. I am Tom Hatfield from Razor Sharp Sports. With me, as always, Spike Measer from Big Time Sports. Spike doing things a little bit differently this week. Wanting all our listeners here to listen in here. We're going to break down the game, and then we're going to have a separate show with the prop odds. You want to take a look at that also. But once again, this show brought to you by freeplays.com. Make sure you check myself out at Razor Sharp and Spike Measer at Big Time Sports out at freeplays.com. Free winners daily plus a whole lot more. Spike, here we are. Super Bowl 45. It's the Steelers and the Packers. I think an outstanding matchup. Fans all over the country for this one, and also a very evenly matched game. What do you think? What's first impressions of this matchup here?
First impression, very, very evenly matched. I thought when we got to these two teams that we might even see the Super Bowl come a pick. Of course, that isn't the case. Green Bay, the slight favorite at 2.5. Total around, 44.5, 45, Hatter?
Right now we're looking at about 44.5, but it has bounced around. It opened at 45, got as high as 46 and as low as 44, and kind of come back up a little bit. And for that matter, the side went from 2.5 up to 3, back to 2, and looks like 2.5 again. And, it could bounce around a little bit more here before game time.
Yeah, we'll see how things progress as we get closer to the game. Of course, we'll see things change a little bit. But, yeah, I agree with you. Outstanding matchup indeed. Very, very evenly matched teams. Tremendous talent on both sides of the ball for both teams. Great coaches, great coaching staffs. And I think we're going to see one of the most evenly matched games, one of the most exciting games, and perhaps the most watched game that we've ever seen in Super Bowl history.
It's interesting to say, you talk about, the teams that we're talking about and the market sizes, and we're not talking about, a Chicago, New York. This isn't the Jets and Bears, the two teams that lost. Instead, we're talking about, little Pittsburgh and even littler Green Bay, two of the smaller markets in all of football. And, it's just that the fan base for both these teams are so outstanding. And, of course, being located here in Wisconsin, it isn't, they call them the Green Bay Packers, but without a doubt, it is the Wisconsin Packers. I mean, fans from all over the state are huge Packer fans, unless you get down to the south. Maybe a few Bear fans sneaking in, and then every once in a while some of us Viking fans sneak in there. But it's just a huge fan base. They're all over the country, and both there'll be Pittsburgh's black and the green of Green Bay invading Dallas Stadium. Should be an outstanding game.
Well, one of the things I want to touch on is the fact that it is at Dallas Stadium and the roof will be closed, and that means a controlled environment. And that means you got no wind or no adverse effects on either of the quarterbacks. Both guys are outstanding. Of course, we saw what Aaron Rodgers did in his last outing in a dome. That was down in Atlanta, and he lit up the Falcons secondary. He's going to certainly try and do the same thing against Pittsburgh. And he's got some outstanding weapons at the receiver position. There's no doubt about it. Everybody's well aware of Greg Jennings. Certainly Donald Driver, that veteran presence, that go-to guy. But Jordy Nelson and James Jones also coming on very, very large, particularly Nelson, 12 catches already in these playoffs. He's been an outstanding outlet for Rodgers. And the Green Bay rushing attack, while not very formidable throughout the regular season, it's really stepped up here in the postseason, particularly James Starks. He had the big game against Philadelphia, has tailed off a little bit. But still, I think he at least gives Pittsburgh something to think about. Another guy I want to mention is John Kuhn. The guy can block, he can run the ball, he can catch the ball, he plays on special teams. This is an outstanding character guy, a glue guy, and he's a very important ingredient for the Green Bay offense and special teams. Green Bay on the defensive side, we talk about the presence of Clay Matthews. He's just outstanding, but it's also the veteran presence of a guy like Charles Woodson that really helps in situations like this. For the Steelers, they have the veteran presence in the secondary as well with Troy Polamalu. They've got outstanding players like Ferrier and Harrison. They've also got an outstanding offense with a veteran receiver in that of Hines Ward. You've got guys like Antonio Brown, making huge catches at key times. Emmanuel Sanders stepping up. Wallace is a deep threat. Let's not forget about the tight end, Heath Miller. That's kind of an ingredient that Pittsburgh has. He's got 7 catches and leads the team in the playoffs. That's an ingredient that Pittsburgh has that maybe Green Bay doesn't have as much as. Or as much of, I should say. So outstanding players on both teams, tremendous coaching staffs, not just the head coaches, but the assistant coaches as well. Some really key guys for Green Bay. You got Mike McCarthy, of course, leading the way, but Tom Clements, the quarterback coach. You've got guys like Capers, that's an outstanding coordinator. Trovac is on that defensive staff. Kevin Green, Winston Moss, Darren Perry. These guys are all big deals, and they know exactly what they're doing. For Pittsburgh, of course, Tomlin, and it's the continuity of the organization and the coaching staff. Of course, Dick LeBeau, a Hall of Famer. Al Everest does a nice job with the special teams. Ray Horton, the defensive back coach. Mitchell's there for the line. Great coaching staffs, particularly on the defense. One other thing, and then I'll turn it over to you. Green Bay on the regular season, plus 148 in point differential. Pittsburgh on the regular season, plus 153 in point differential. So a couple of really, really close match teams, and it's going to be a truly amazing game.
You know, I take a look at a lot of the stats, and, you kind of put things together, and you look at the defenses, 1 and 2 in the league. Pittsburgh allowing 14.5 points per game, Green Bay at 15. Pittsburgh number 1 in sacks, Green Bay number 2. It's just been outstanding, the comparisons, and, as you touched on, the point differential so much. And I looked at it, and I thought it was very similar to a game that would be a pick'em. One interesting thing that I think a lot of people haven't really jumped out on. You mentioned John Kuhn for Green Bay. Well, John Kuhn is the only person on the Green Bay roster with a Super Bowl ring or even any Super Bowl experience, and that's because 2 years ago he was on the Pittsburgh Steelers practice squad when the Steelers won it. And, of course, with the Steelers being there right now and only playing a couple years back, they have plenty of experience. They've been there. So right there, I guess you lean to Pittsburgh for the experience. The one thing I have to lean toward Green Bay is the game going to be played indoors. The dome, the roof will be shut there, and even if it isn't, it is a very fast track anyway. Green Bay plays so well indoors. You take a look, Aaron Rodgers in his 12 games that he's played indoors has thrown for over 300 yards 7 times, and I believe it's McCarthy's record is something like 12-5, something like that in the dome. So, this Green Bay football team is very solid in the dome. They're a fast team. You touched on all the big names there, both offensively and defensively. But overall, just an outstanding football game. And, I just can't wait to watch it. I'm sure there's going to be plenty, and as you touched on, could be a record-setting crowd watching this game. Now, I know you're not going to make a pick here on this one, but I want to make sure you let all our listeners know how they can get your pick on the game here this week.
2 locations, Tom, and all the listeners out there. On the net at freeplays.com. Just click on Big Time, or you can dial the Big Time toll-free message line, 1-800-847-7889. Again, toll-free message line, 1-800-847-7889, or right here on the net, freeplays.com. Click on Big Time, and you're all set up for the bowl.
All right, thanks a lot there, Spike Measer, Big Time Sports. Check him out at freeplays.com, and here at Razor Sharp Sports, same place, freeplays.com, to get all our winning action for the Super Bowl. We'll have the side, we'll have the total, we'll have some more extra props for you, and a whole lot more, plus the basketball season, so make sure you check that out. Go to freeplays.com, click on Razor Sharp Sports, or you can always call that Razor Sharp free pick phone, which is 1-800-549-7111. Start getting the Razor's Edge on your side today. Freeplays.com. Click on Razor Sharp Sports or 1-800-549-7111. I want to also invite all our listeners to tune in for our Super Bowl prop show, which is also right here. Another short breakdown. We'll take a look at some of those wild and wacky props. Once again, I want to thank everybody, including Spike Measer, for all the great information, Hondo, the man who puts it together each and every week, and you, the listener, for a great season here. Super Bowl 45 is here. Good luck, everybody.